morning, everybody. Hopefully you had a wonderful weekend and you're all set to go for this week. Just a reminder, next week, 5Q and ECA will be closed Monday. I'm assuming a lot of you will be closed since the markets are closed to celebrate the President's Day next Monday. So no call. We won't be open. ECA won't be open, and hopefully you're going to take the a 3-day weekend as well. So I just want to go over, because I haven't talked about this in a long while, what made the difference from me after 8 years. Well, for the first 7 years, I never made more than $50,000. Never made more than $50,000 in this industry. And then, what do you think my main problem was? Why was I struggling to make more than $50,000 for 7 years? I'm getting no telling, selling, preaching, teaching, no process, etc. No, it's because I didn't know how to market. I didn't know how to get in front of people. I was calling leads. And guys, you're ever going to make huge money calling leads? You can make a living, but are you going to ever make the big bucks chasing leads? Yeah, you can make a living, good living, but never going to make the big bucks. So I didn't know how to get in front of people. The 8th year, I figured out how to get in front of people. The 8th year, I figured out how to get in front of people. And but then I got in front of 300 people, or I want to say people, units, did 101 case analysis, got in front of $34 million of movable money, and I only closed $800,000. So then I figured out, well, marketing is only part of the problem, because I marketed terrifically. I mean, doing 101 case analysis and getting in front of $34 million, good or bad for a year. And how many of you would like to do that? But I only closed 800,000. So that's when I figured out my process was lacking. And my wife turned me on to, she was a doctor of psychology at Mayo Clinic, she turned me on to motivational interviewing. So I started to study motivational interviewing, and then in order to figure out about what I was doing right or wrong, I started to record myself to implement motivational interviewing. And then my income, after 8 years of nothing, plateauing, glass ceiling, bam, 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 couldn't get above it, boom, 7-fold increase. Next year, boom, 2-fold increase. Next year, boom, 50% increase. So after 8 years of struggling, within 3 years, my income went up 20-fold to almost $1 million in a very small city, 100,000 people surrounded by an hour and a half of farmland in every direction. And did I do it by getting in front of rich people, guys? Did I get my income go up like this by getting in front of rich people? No. Probably 85% of my clients were nurses, IBM engineers, or teachers. These are not rich people. These are middle-income people. I had no wealthy people. My biggest case was $856,000. My average case is about $225,000. So this is what happens when people that are, if you're struggling and hitting a plateau, this is what can happen. This is what can happen. I'm going to tell you what the average person sees an improvement with 5Q, so you can compare yourself here later in the call. But what I needed to first do is get rid of all these habits of unsuccessful people, because when I was making $50,000 a year, believe me, I was hitting many of these habits of unsuccessful people. I was acting before I thought, because I was doing, believe me, I was doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over. Am I thinking before I act if I'm doing the same thing over and over and over and having no success? No. Think I know it all? Yeah. In fact, that's what I was doing wrong, is I was telling people how much I knew instead of listening to them. I was talking more than I was listening. And I try to bring people down. People that were successful, I would praise them, or would I, get snarky with them? This is a huge one. I actually quit the business in the 8th year. I quit the business for about a day. And my wife asked me why. I said, because all these people here in Rochester are idiots. They all are taking my information, going back to the person who put them in the bad situation to begin with. So is that the epitome of blaming others? So the reason I was only making $50,000 a year is because not my fault. It's these stupid people I'm trying to sell to. That's their fault. No. I stopped learning. I was saying negative things, having a sense of entitlement. These people are stupid. They should be working with me. They should know better. Always angry at others. Don't know what they want to be. Secretly hope others fail. Take the easy way out. Never have goals. Get distracted every day. Criticize. Waste of time. Hoard information data instead of sharing it. Fear change. Give up easily. These are all things that I was doing. And it's amazing. Once I started to tape myself and listen to myself, what do you think happened to all these things? Did I start to think before I act? Did I think I knew it all? After listening to myself with other people, did I think I knew it all anymore? Did I learn that I was talking way too much? I started to listen more. I quit blaming others. I started to hold myself accountable for my success. And guys, that was it's scary. Don't get me wrong. Holding yourself accountable is scary, but it's also freeing, because do I have any control over others? Do I have any control over the market? Do I have any control over interest rates? Do I have any control over products? Do I have any control over whether we go to war or not? Do I have any control over the economy? Do I have any control of any of those things? No. The one thing I have control over is myself. I can control that. And guess what I found? We've been using this system, me or some people I've coached have been using this system for 25 years. Have there been wars in the last 25 years? Have there been economic crises in the last 25 years? Has there been interest rates up and interest rates down? Stock market up, stock market down. Economy good, economy bad. I mean, everything happened. Basically anything that they can throw at you happened in the last 25 years. And guess what we found? The system works every single year, because it has nothing to do with those things. It has to do with these things. It has to do with holding yourself accountable, communicating better, letting the client make their own decision. When you do these things, it doesn't matter what's going on around you. So these things don't know what they want to be. Now, here's one thing I changed. In this 8th year, at the end of the 8th year, I decided I'm only working with seniors. I gave away all of my non-seniors. So I gave away about half of my book, and I didn't even sell it. I gave it away. I gave it away to a guy that I knew was ethical. And I said, here's the thing. I'm giving this away. And the reason I'm giving it to you instead of selling it to you is so you don't go in and churn the book. Because, when you sell it to somebody, what do they immediately want to do? They want to go and change everybody's contract to make money to pay for that. Then so I said, no, I'm giving this to you. If I hear you churn one person's contract, I am going to go call every single person and just take them all back and let them know what a scum you are. So are we clear? You are going to take these people, service them, and when it's right, yes, move the contract, but you're not going to go in and wholesale make. So I actually decided I want to only, so when somebody said, when I told people I only work senior, I'm an expert in seniors, did I know now what I wanted to be? I used to laugh at the Waddell and Reed billboard, because in town it would say, we're experts in college planning, we're experts in retirement planning, we're experts in income planning, we're experts in insurance. Guys, if you're an expert in everything, you're what? You're not an expert. Now, here's the funny thing. When I gave away all those people, didn't even sell it, and only worked with seniors, limited my target market, and did not take anybody else, what happened to my income? Did it go down or did it go up? Who makes more money? A general practitioner doctor or a surgeon? A surgeon does. Who makes more money? A general surgeon or a heart surgeon? A heart surgeon does. Who makes more money? A transplant heart surgeon or a heart surgeon? A transplant heart surgeon. Who makes more money? The transplant heart surgeon or the pediatric transplant heart surgeon? The pediatric transplant person. The more specialized you get, the more money you make. I didn't lose money by only working with seniors. I made money. When I looked him in the eye, I said, the reason you should work with me is because I only work with people in your situation. I'm not trying to be everything to everybody. I know what you need because you're the only person I work with. I do not work with 50-year-olds. I do not work with 40-year-olds. I do not work with 30 or 20-year-olds. I do not work with businesses. I do not do 401ks. I work only with seniors. Guys, what does that make a person think when you look them in the eye and tell them that? They want to work with you more? They say, no, even though I'm a senior, I'd really like somebody who also works with businesses. No, even though I'm a senior, I'd also like somebody who works with somebody who's pre-retired. No, what they want? Somebody who knows their situation backwards and forwards. I figured it out what I wanted to be. My sense of entitlement went out the window. It wasn't my fault. I mean, it wasn't their fault that I wasn't successful. It wasn't the economy's fault, the government's fault, the product's fault, my client's fault. It was my fault that I wasn't succeeding. I parked my sense of entitlement on the sidelines. I quit doing that. I after listening to my first tape of me talking to another person, guess what I learned? I may have thought that I knew it all, but I didn't know anything. I mean, I was winning every war through debate and winning every battle through debate. They knew that I was smarter than them. They knew that the things I was saying was true, but they did not work with me because they felt bad about it. I learned that I thought I was a great communicator because I could debate well. I thought I was a great communicator because I could explain things well. I thought I was a great communicator because I could teach well. No, I learned that I didn't know it. And the funny thing is, who are the smartest people? The people who think they know everything, or the people who think they have a lot left to learn? Who are the smartest people? People who think they know everything, or people who think they have a lot left to learn? Yeah, the people who think they have a lot left to learn. And I quit fearing change. I embraced change, doing things differently than I used to do them. Guys, I used to think that 3 meetings was a busy week. When I was making $1 million a year, and guys, think about this. That was 23 years ago. I was making $1 million a year. What would I be making today? Because people didn't have as much in their 401ks, et cetera, because they had pensions back then. But in 23 years, pensions have gone through the floor with all the people that I worked with. How much would I have made today? A lot more if I hadn't made those changes. I had quit learning. The reason my income skyrocketed over those 3 years is because I was learning. Every year I got better. First year was a big jump, 7 times more income. The next year I'd learned a lot, but I was still learning a little bit more. It jumped by a doubling again. The next year I knew a lot more, but I was still learning a little bit more, and I went up by another 50%. So you gotta continue to learn, and you gotta quit saying negative, thinking and saying negative things. What does it get you? It makes you feel better. Makes you feel like you're bringing people down to your level, or even below your level. You feel like you're superior to them. What good can come from thinking or saying negative things? Is there anything good? No. Is there bad things that can come from thinking negative things? You know, when you call people plate lickers and tire kickers, should they work with you? If you're calling people plate lickers and tire kickers, is that complimentary? And you go in, so many times in the last 23 years of coaching, guys, I've heard people say, well, I don't market because people are tire kickers and plate lickers. Duh. Aren't you a tire kicker and plate licker when you're looking at a new product? And guys, if you're talking about moving your entire 40 years worth of blood, sweat, and tears, should you be a tire kicker and a plate licker? Or should you rush into it? I guarantee you, if they're not a tire kicker and a plate licker, they are poor. If they are not a tire kicker and a plate licker, they are poor, because what have they done? They've changed and changed and changed and changed and changed and changed. They've sold and sold and bought and sold and bought and sold. They've changed advisors. If they've done that, how much money do they have? If they were constantly changing, how much money do they have? None. So, of course, they're going to be tire kickers and plate lickers. What you need to do is talk a language that gets tire kickers and plate lickers to leave. And I've pulled out this achievement over and over again because it's illustrative of the power of what we're doing here. 2 years in a row, I moved clients who their son was their advisor, and they moved all their money to me. Is there any person more a tire kicker and a plate licker than somebody who has their son as their advisor? Can they be any more tire kicker and plate licker if their son is their advisor? And that the system, not me, the system got them to move. So quit thinking and saying negative things. Instead, improve your situation. Don't secretly hope others fail. Bring them up. And when you bring them up, you will bring yourself up. Talk more than they listen. Don't talk more than you listen. Listen more than you talk. That's why motivation interviewing is about asking open-ended questions. Hoard information and data. Guys, don't hide it. Share things. So many of you are awesome at this now. You send me good articles that I've missed that I can share with everybody else here. So you guys are awesome at sharing information. This is the huge one. Quit wasting time. Again, if you have plateaued and you want, if you plateaued and you're fine with your income, that's cool. But if you plateaued and you want to increase your income, what you got to do, and I talked about this a few months ago, get a calendar that's divided hourly, and then write down on that calendar, have your smartwatch or your phone or your computer ding at the top of every hour. So at 9 o'clock, I'm going to write down what I did between 8 and 9. At 10 o'clock, I'm going to write down what I did between 10 and 9. At 11 o'clock, I'm going to write down what I did between 11 and 10. I'm going to do that for a whole week. And what am I going to find? Those 40 hours, how many of those 40 hours am I truly doing productive, effective use of time out of those 40 hours? Yeah, maybe 2. That's what I have to agree with that. Quit wasting time. How many times should you look at the news during your work day? How many times should you look at the news during your work day? 0. How many times should you look at any type of social media during your work day? Never. How many times should you read the paper, even the financial section, during your work day? How much is that going to make you reading the financial section? Because that's when I find out when people have done this exercise. Guess what they've lumped in most of what they do during the week? "Quote unquote" research. What should you be researching during Hey, you should take a couple weeks a year and research. A couple weeks a year. I used to take December and I'd research what products am I going to use next year. But for the rest of the year, what benefit would I be bringing to my clients by researching? I mean, what can I research? I mean, all of a sudden find some investment technique that nobody else has found after 100 years that I'm going to somehow beat the money managers, even though I have no money compared to them. I have no research department compared to them. I have no experts compared to them, but I'm going to somehow figure it out. And if you have a good money manager, again, December should be when you should be researching what annuities you're going to use, what money manager you're going to use. But if you're hopping from one money manager and one to another through the year, are you doing your clients any good service? Quit wasting time. Your entire time should be taking better care of your clients and finding new clients, becoming a better communicator, becoming smarter, and is reading the news or doing research on what money manager or what annuity is the best, making yourself smarter. No, I'm talking about becoming a better communicator. What is the thing that's going to make you the most money and it's going to help your clients the most? If you can communicate better. That's the only thing you should be working on until you're an expert at that. Quit getting distracted by every little thing that's out there. Again, giving up the news, social media, the paper during your workday. That's going to help you with those distractions. How many times should you be looking at email a day? 2 or 3, that's right, 2 or 3. Morning, after you do your 15-minute drill, maybe noon, and evening before you leave. That's all you need to do. They give up easily. Oh, that's hard. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, guys, what's the number one, and I think I talked about the characteristic, when they did research on billionaires, what was the number one characteristic that all billionaires have? They did what several times? What did they do several times? That's right, they failed several times. And then they did what? Now, if they failed at the dry cleaning business, did they go into the restaurant business, and they failed the restaurant business and they went into the car business? No. If they made $1 billion and they were in the car business, they failed at the car business, made some changes, tried it again, failed at the car business again, made some changes, failed again, made some changes, failed again. Guys, that's how I became a successful financial advisor. I failed till I made it. Because I learned, every time I failed, I learned to do what not to do and what I should do better. What not to do, what I should do better. What not to do. So don't give up easily. Learn from your mistakes. That's the number one thing that billionaires did. They learned from their mistakes and went at it better the next time. Failed, learned from their mistakes, went at it better next time, failed, did the same thing over and over until they finally figured it out. Is there any taking the easy way out? Is there any easy way out? You know, blaming others is an easy way out. 99% of my meteoric success came because I quit blaming others. I started taking personal responsibility. I started to record my meetings and quit blaming the client, but figure out how I could communicate better to the client. It was all my fault. For 8 years, I blamed them. As soon as I quit blaming them, started recording myself, my income took off. Do you do this? I used to listen to, I didn't do 15-minute drills. When I created the system, I did not do 15-minute drills. I did hour-and-a-half drills every single day. I listened to full meetings, full client meetings every single day, 5 days, not every single day, 5 days a week during the workday, until to figure out how to build a system and how to get better. No plan to get better. Do you have a plan to get better? I mean, one of the easiest plan to get better is just do the 15, and you don't even have to do an hour-and-a-half drill. Do the 15-minute drill. Do you do that? Don't have a system in place? Guys, is there any entity, any FMO, any broker-dealer, any money manager that has a system as complete and connect the dot as 5Q does? I mean, we've had people here from Morgan Stanley, from Merrill Lynch, from a big entity. They say, geez, Mike, I know Merrill Lynch spends millions of dollars on training every year building systems, and their system does not hold a candle to yours. There is no, is there any question that you could ask me that I wouldn't have an answer to and be able to send you to the website, say, listen to this tape, read this paper, watch this video? Is there any question you could ask me, any objection you've gotten, any problem you've had that I can't point you to something that we've experienced and we've fixed? No. You have a system in place. Use it. But you got to be self-aware. The first thing about improving yourself is being self-aware. Self-aware, self-aware. When you're self-aware, you're going to get more efficient at everything you do, and that's going to increase your productivity. And remember, I said I used to think 3 meetings a week was difficult. 3 meetings a week was difficult. And then I started, as I got better and better, by the end, when I was making $1 million a year, I was running 30 appointments a week. 30 appointments a week with 2 staff, with a Missy as my assistant and a receptionist. That's it. Why? Why could I do that? Because I had a what? A system. When I looked at my weekly, so I had a one of those folder dividers outside my office, and Monday was set up with folders, and there were color-coded folders for first meeting, second meeting, third meeting, client review. First, second, third meeting, client review. Different colored folders for each, so I knew exactly what I was going to do. And guys, how much time did I spend developing cases? Almost like a doctor, yeah, John, like a doctor's office. How much time did I spend? You've heard me tell you this before. Developing cases. That busy running that, bringing on over 100 clients a year, and I did it on Saturday mornings between 5 in the morning and 7:30 in the morning. 2.5 hours. That's all. How could it, when I'm that busy, how could I be that good, that efficient? How could I be that efficient? How did I get it down to where I could do a mock tax return right in front of the client in 5 minutes? How? Yeah, I had a system, and I did it over and over and over again. I just watched Forrest Gump again this weekend, and maybe you can remember this. When Forrest Gump was not a genius, but he could take apart and put the scene where he was in the army, and he could take apart and put together the rifle so much faster than everybody else out there. Why? Why could he? He was focused, and he did it over and over and over again. See, this is what my calendar looks like. You think you're busy? This is busy. This is busy. And this is what you can learn to do as you get better at what you do. Now, have you ever been around or seen these contests where you have, the last person take their hand off wins, right? Well, if I gave you that same same ability, and said, listen, I'm going to give you the ability to win this car if you can spend 4 hours a day doing something. Would you do that? Just spend 4 hours a day doing something. Would you do that? Guys, 4 hours a day times 30 days. What if I said, I'm going to give you $500,000 or more if you spend 4 hours a day for 30 days, 4 hours a day for 30 days, just not for your rest of your life, just 4 hours a day for 30 days walking. Would you do that? Just walk for 4 hours for a month and I'll pay you $500,000. How many of you would do that? I've gotten 3 yeses, 4 yeses. Come on. Everybody say yay or nay. Yay, Y or N? Okay, I'm at 7, 8, 10. Okay, now more. Yeas or nays? How about if I say, hey, if you just read for 4 hours a day for 30 days for $500,000, would you do that? What if I said you have to write for 4 hours a day? For 4 hours a day, you have to write, I must not write all over the walls, just over and over and over for 4 hours a day, not for the rest of your life, just for 30 days. Would you do it? See, that's the whole thing. Do you believe in 5Q? Do you believe the things that can be accomplished with it? Do you believe that 5Q has a system that will close 94% of tire kickers and plate lickers? Well, here's what I'm going to tell you, and I've done this before. I'm going to keep hammering it home, though. If I grabbed a firefighter, and how much do they know about selling? How much do they know about the financial markets? How much do they know about planning? Nothing. But I told this fireman, I'll pay you $500,000 if you learn this 21-point checklist scripts and the FIA script in 30 days. Guess what he would magically be able to do? Would he learn it? Would he know it better than you do right now? Because what would he do? If he said to his wife, hey, I got this opportunity. I can make $500,000 if I memorize these 21 scripts. This is an hour and a half worth of scripts, or 2.5 hours if you include the FIA scripts. There's 2.5 hours in scripts. I can make $500,000 in 1 month. What would his wife tell him to do? Take a leave. Take leave from your work. Would he be telling me that he needs to go to? Would he be telling his wife, I need to go coach the girls' softball team? What would she say? They can live without you for a month. What would he say when he plopped down on TV to watch the game on Sunday? What would she say? Guys, if this fireman would know that after 1 month, know the scripts better than you got to ask yourself, do you really believe in the 5Q system? Because if you did, what would you do? How many months or even years have you been on the 5Q system, and you do or don't know that scripts backwards and forwards as much as this fireman would know? So your beliefs don't make you a better person. Your behavior does. There's a difference between want and need. It's hard to do the right thing when there's syrup involved. I get it. It's hard to learn scripts, but how long am I asking you to do? Because do I have to spend any time memorizing scripts, guys? How many decades has it been since I've memorized a script? It's been 2 decades. And I don't have to learn just the scripts you guys need to learn. I figured out I have to know about 9 hours of scripts for the various things that I do leading 5Q. Do I have to spend any time learning those scripts? No. Why? I learned them 2 decades ago. Because once you memorize a script, you don't need to learn it anymore. So how much can 5Q make you? Well, we have the ability with marketing to get you 70 to 90% appointment ratios. If you do GOTS, we get and the 20-point checklist, we get 94% people to move their money to you. And we have that. And not just the easy people. We're talking about tire kickers and plate lickers. We're talking about if their son is their advisor, getting those people to move their money to you. And we have, again, we quit probably 5 years ago, even archiving any of these tapes. So we have 60,000 times it's been in proof that it does work that way with tape reviews. How much can 5Q make you if you do the appointment ratios at marketing like we ask you to? If you do your 15 minutes a day with GOTS, if you learn that 21-point checklist, spend a month learning it backwards and forwards. If you send in your tapes for me to review with you so I can show you what you're doing well and how to get better, now you have the solution. You have the solution to making as much money as you want. And the great thing is you don't even have to be in a hurry. If you just get 2% better each week, if you do these things, you're going to get far more than 2% better. But let's just say you get 2% better each week. You'd be 275% better by the end of the year. That's almost 3 times better. If you were 3 times better than you are right now, how much money would you make in the following year? If you were 3 times better at your skill level, at the scripts, at gotzing people, at getting appointments, at turning tire kickers and plate lickers, if you turned 3 times as many tire kickers and plate lickers into clients than you did in your entire career, how much more money would you make this coming year? So if you make $100,000 now, it'd be 3 times as much money. And it's not, you don't have to suffer for the whole year till you get to that. You're making more every single week. So what is the average 5Q guy when they come on? You know, most people come on because they plateaued. They've trying to make more money or make the same amount of money in less time or whatever it may be. The first year, the average guy, again, I went up 356%. But this is the average. That means half the people, or the mean, half the people saw less than a 79% increase. Half the people saw way more than a 79% increase. So did you see an almost doubling in your income when you came on board? If you didn't, what does that tell you? That you're above or below the average person when they come into 5Q? And if you're below, what does that tell you? You spent more time or less time than the rest of the people learning it? Second year, 173% above. This is the average, 173% above the 79%. Which means you're closer to what? So not 173 from the time you came on, 173% above this. So now you're nearing what? Almost 4 times as much money. If you're not making, after you've been with us for 2 years, not making 4 times as much, then when you came on board, you're below or above average compared to the average guy that comes on board. And is it because they're smarter than you? First of all, congrats to all those guys that are way above, saw doubling or tripling of their income that first year, and have seen that 10 times, 20 times more income. Congrats to you. I'm not talking to you guys. But if you're below that, what's that tell you? And I hope, again, I apologize to the guys that are above that. I'm not saying you're stupid, but the point I'm trying to make is that people who are below those numbers, you're not stupid either. It's just that the people above those numbers, guess what they did? They buckled down and surrendered to the system. They quit saying, I'm going to use this, and I'm going to use that. I'm going to use this. When I have time, I'm going to study. No, guess what they said? Well, if I came on board, I might as well what? Come on board. And they spent all the time necessary to learn that hour and a half, 2.5 hours of scripts. And guess what magically happens? Boom. Lots more money. Or a lot less time in front of people making the same amount of money. Either one is fine with me. Does that make sense? So guys, learn these 21-point checklist scripts. What we're going to talk about today is turnover. We're going to watch how we can use turnover to get people to decide my advisor does not have my best interest at heart. Let's see here. Oops. Escape. Okay. So here we go. Oh no, buy and hold. Buy and hold, right? So that's smart. That's what all the research shows. That's what all great investors and people have said in the long term. Cover is turnover costs. Now, when you've heard about investing, did they tell you to buy and hold or buy and sell willy-nilly? Oh no, buy and hold. Buy and hold, right? So That's smart. That's what all the research shows. That's what all great and people have said in the long term, that you should buy and what?
Buy and hold.
Yeah. And so turnover is talking about, well, let me give you an example of what turnover is talking about. So why do I want him to tell me that they should be buying and holding? Buying and holding, and anybody who's smart is buying and holding. Why am I having him tell me that 3 times? Because he's about to find out that what? Even though his advisor has been telling him buy and hold, buy and hold, buy and hold, because that's a smart thing, he's going to find out that what? Well, apparently that thing that your advisor has been telling you to do, because it's so smart, he ain't doing. Here, a company has a high turnover ratio with its employees. Does that mean it's holding its employees a long time, or it's a revolving door with employees coming in and out, whether they're quitting or getting fired or whatever? Which one?
Revolving door.
You think that's a good thing or a bad thing for a company?
Well, I would guess that's a bad thing.
That is a bad thing, because if you think about it, first of all, does it cost money to hire people?
Oh, yeah.
And when they're being trained, is that downtime or they're productive?
No, that's downtime. Again,
this is another example. You've heard me talk about this before. Do I go right for the financial, or do I get them to tell me that in the real world, things work this way? So I'm saying, listen, turnover is never a good thing, whether it's in a company or in finance. See, I want them to say that turnover is never good. Turnover is never good, never good, never good, never good before I go into the finances. So you can't say, well, no, for everything in life, that's bad except for my finances. Do you see how in almost every script, we use the same template? We use, third party before we go for the money. We tell them that things are good before we have them realize, things aren't so good for them. See, it's the same template over and over and over. That's why it gets easier and easier to learn the scripts. So for the first part of this call, it's saying learn the scripts, learn the scripts, learn the scripts. The funny thing is, once you start learning the script, you find out it gets easier and easier and easier, because it's really the same template, just a different topic. So again, we're here talking about third-party real-life things, so they can't deny that turnover is bad in their situation as well. So if they're constantly doing that, what's it going to do to that company?
It's going to affect the bottom line.
It's going to affect the bottom line. So high turnover is good or bad for a company?
No, it's bad.
Yeah. And it's the same thing for investments. So for investments, they don't have employees, but let's say that with the companies we just talked about, do you think they have 1 stock in it or maybe 100 stocks?
I'm sure they have 100.
100 stocks. So if they don't get rid of a single stock at the end of the year, so the same stock they started with in January, they have December 31st, what is their turnover going to be?
0.
0. If they sell all 100 stocks and then replace them with 100 stocks, what would their turnover be?
100.
100. So what your particular turnover is, if we looked at Morningstar, what they tell us is the turnover ratio. Do these look familiar to you?
Yeah.
Okay, those are your funds. So your turnover ratio is anywhere from 97, which is what?
Practically 100.
Yeah, to smaller, but on average it's what?
46.45.
And where are we here?
46.45.
Yes, so that's where you're at right now. Now you told me that it was a good thing or a bad thing to do buy and hold.
Buy and hold is good.
You get it. You know what to do here. What do we find when we pull the curtain back? What do we find out your managers are doing?
Oh, they're buying and selling.
So who's smarter?
Well, I would think I am.
It certainly starts to appear that way, right?
Yeah.
So, but we're wondering, well, why? We know why turnover is bad for companies. Why is it bad for investing? Should we kind of walk through?
Sure.
It's got 3 different problems. Number 1 is, have you ever heard of capital gains?
Yes.
Okay. So capital gains. And what are capital gains?
So if you have an investment and it goes up, you have a capital gain and you have to pay tax on the gains.
Right. And have you heard of the term short-term versus long-term capital gains?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So what do you know about those?
Long-term, you pay less tax. Short-term, you pay more.
Yeah. Short-term, you actually pay half the tax. Or sometimes, depending on your tax bracket, even less than half the tax. So if you had your druthers, or if you could choose, would you rather have more long-term or short-term gains?
I think you meant to say double the tax.
Well, with the short-term, you pay half. Oh, you're right. Thank you. Sometimes I need somebody like you. So we don't want half, do we?
No.
We want what? If you see me making a mistake, you call me out on it, right? So we're going to pay how much extra tax there with the short-term?
2 times.
Yeah, which is good or bad?
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah. So if we wanted more long-term, or do we want more short-term?
You want more long-term.
Yeah, we want more long-term. So when we, do you know what the definition of a long-term is? If you hold a stock for what period of time is it considered long-term?
A year or more.
A year or more. So if it's a year or less, it's going to be what?
Short-term.
Short-term. With half as much tax or twice as much
Twice
tax?
as much.
Twice as much tax. So if they have a 46% turnover every year, that's more than a year or less than a year?
Well, that's going to be less than a year.
So what percentage of your funds are paying twice as much tax?
About 46%.
Good thing or bad thing?
No, that's bad.
Yeah. Now the second thing is this: is that we said that they have 100 stocks in there and billions of dollars of investments. Mm-hmm. So do you think that each stock they have $1 million of each stock, or maybe 100 million of each stock?
I'm sure it's more like 100 million.
100 million of each stock. So if you have if you're trying to sell your house and there's 15 other houses for sale on your block, what's that going to do to the price of your house?
It's going to lower it.
Lower. If you're the only house for sale in a great school district for 5-mile radius, what's that going to do to your house value?
It's going to make it go up.
Go up. Again, I'm talking third-party real-world things before I go into how it affects their money, right? So I get them to admit, this is how it works with my house, so they can't say, well, this isn't how it works with my stocks, though. So if everybody's selling, it's going to make it what?
Go down.
If nobody's, or if you got something that everybody wants, it's going to make it go what?
It's going to make it go up.
And that's why it affects you. So if they start out with $100 million of a stock and they want to sell it, they're going to dump it. So what do you think is going to happen to the price of that stock as they start selling that stock with $100 million during one day?
Oh, I'm sure it's going to make it go down.
They'll go down a little, keep going down, down, down. So you won't lose a lot, but by the end, instead of you start out with $100 million of stock, by the end they sell it and they only have $99 million worth of cash.
Okay.
So how much did that go down?
$1 million.
$1 million. And what percentage would that be?
1%.
1%. So you start out with 100. We're at what?
99.
Now they'd want to buy another what with that?
They're going to buy another stock.
So if they're buying stock, what's going to happen to the price of that stock if they're buying $99 million worth of stock?
It's going to go up.
It's going to go up. So now by the end, because they buy less of that stock as it keeps going up as they buy it, they end up with $98 million of the next stock. So what's happened there? How much did it cost them percentage-wise?
Another 1%.
So they're out how much?
2%.
2%. So that's the second. This is the first thing. Good or bad for capital gains?
Well, it's bad for capital gains.
Good or bad for cost?
It's bad for cost.
Okay. And the third thing is this, is that if I want to get an above average return, do I take more risk or less risk?
You're probably going to have to take more risk.
So I'm already down 2%. What do I have to do to get back to ground even at least?
You've got to at least make that back.
More risk. So what are the 3 reasons why turnover is not good?
Well, more taxes. You lose money, and you have to take more risk.
2. So how many times have I had him tell me that turnover is bad? 3 times, 6 times, or 9 times? Because remember, 9 times, right? Because I would talk about this, then I would go to this, then I would repeat this and this, then I would talk about this, and I repeat this, this, this. So 9 times he told me it's bad. So can he say now the turnover is good? No.
Get back to ground even.
Right. So turnover-wise, try this again. Turnover-wise, do you want higher turnover, or do you want lower turnover?
Well, you would want lower turnover.
You want lower turnover. And you have what?
We have high turnover.
High turnover. And would you want high fees or low fees?
Well, you definitely want low fees.
Low fees. And not high fees. And what do you have?
We have high fees.
High fees and high what?
High turnover.
So why do you think this, were you ever shown anything like this before?
No, actually, I've never seen that before.
So which one would you rather have?
Low turnover with low fees.
Instead you have
high turnover with high fees.
So you're paying more or less for what you...
Well, we're paying more.
For the thing that you truly wanted or the thing that you didn't want?
Well, for the thing we didn't want.
So why would you be being charged more for the thing you truly want instead of paying less for the thing that you truly want? Why do you think you're paying more?
Well,
if there's more of these, what can happen?
More for him.
So why do you think you're in something with
high turnover?
Well, he wants to make more money.
Wants to make more money. Because here's the thing. Did you know that funds in the 90th and 95th percentile for return, guess what kind of turnover they have?
Low.
Almost zero. So you could have been in the funds that you're in, or you could have been in funds that perform. If you're in the 90 or 95th percentile, in the top 5-10% of all funds out there, is that okay or not okay?
Well, that'd be ideal.
And if you didn't have to pay any turnover fees on that, is that good or bad?
That would be great.
Yeah. Were you shown those?
No.
So instead, you're paying how much?
Guys, what kind of funds are in the 90, 95th percentile with zero turnover? First of all, does Berkshire Hathaway, which is considered a fund because he has stocks in that stock, right? The stock of stocks. What kind of are people charged for the turnover inside the Berkshire Hathaway? First of all, how much turnover is in Berkshire Hathaway? And are they charged for that? No. And most importantly, what other kind of stocks? Index ETFs. And what kind of turnover do they have? Zero.
Well, about $3,700.
In needed or unneeded fees?
Unneeded.
Yeah. So that's the second. So we've already talked about the one with the unnecessary life insurance. Now we talked about the second unneeded fee.
Right.
We'll talk about the third here in a second. But if you had your druthers, you'd rather have what?
Low turnover.
And low
fees.
And the reason you don't is why?
Well, he never showed us that.
Yeah, and he didn't, because why? If you have low fees, guess what?
He doesn't make any money.
So guys, how many of you would like me to go through that script with your clients? If you use money managers, or you use mutual funds or variable annuities, would you want me to go through that script with your clients? And again, remember, this is just one of 21 scripts. Every single one of these scripts is enough to what? What are they thinking about their advisor at this point? Has their best interest at heart or doesn't? Is charging them fees for something they want or charging them fees for something they don't want? Guys, there's nothing worse than being if you were on a airline and they socked you, you're on an airline and they socked you for an extra $100 for let's say video, and you said I didn't watch video, and they said so what? We're charging you anyways. What would you think? Do you want to be charged for something you don't want? Even worse, what if they charge you $100 for less leg room? Because that's what's happening here, right? The things that's happening is hurting these people. So they say, yeah, we're charging you an extra $100 because you have less leg room. Now what are you thinking? You're what? What's happening to you emotionally if they charge you $100 for having less leg room than the person in front of you? What are you thinking? See, that's what happens with these scripts. Do you see how even if their son is their advisor, and again, I have a special script. If you ever come across that, let me know. I have a special script that gets them to blame the company instead of their son. But how many people are going to stay with their son when they see that their company is screwing them? How many people are going to stay with their advisor when they see their advisor screwing them? Will a tire kicker or a play licker say, oh, well, I still love my guy after this script? No. Make sense? This is the power that you have in your hands right now. But having that power is no good unless you what? Having that power is no good unless you what? Use it. That's right. Use it. Guys, learn these scripts, okay? Learn these scripts. Thanks for being on. We won't talk to you here for a couple of weeks, so have a great next couple of weeks, and we'll reconvene here in not next Monday, but the following Monday. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you guys. Bye-bye.